discussion 就开始了。OK， 那我有一个问题想先问一下周思木教授。So how do you feel like when you talk about like morality and ethics for AI, right? And so what do you think that if AI can fully replace human being, then what do you feel like AI will be able to have the ethics and morality that humans will have, and how it will play in our society?
So, as I was saying, there's a huge difference between the AI systems and humans. Humans are actually very biological. They're biologically driven. They have a lot of programming from their DNA and other aspects of biology, whereas machines don't. They don't have the same innate wishes and desires and so forth. They don't have the idea that they have to protect what's theirs and what's not. They have only what they have figured out and learned. And so my argument would be, if you put two machines or many machines together, you will say that the machines will normally cooperate. If they have a project or something they're working on, they will discuss it, they'll agree what the project is, and they'll do it. Whereas human beings don't necessarily do that. So the example I give is, imagine you have a leader of China, and you imagine you have a new leader of the United States, and each one of them thinks they have a great idea of how that country should run. Are they going to cooperate and make the world better? It's clear to me almost everything works much better when people cooperate and when people have a world order in which there's a free flow of information and scientific data, there's free flow of goods back and forth, good supply lines. You're going to be much more efficient, you're going to be better. But people don't seem to necessarily want to cooperate. And why is that? That is cosmologist. So I don't know if you know what a company named, ever heard of a company named Salesforce? So Salesforce did a game theory kind of experiment where they made up a game in which the goal was for you to gather stuff and build little structures and do this very stuff. And so they had AI, or little AI simulated pieces, and humans played this game. And the humans often blocked other humans or AI from being able to build systems, whereas the AIs just built as much as they could. And so it turned out the AIs won all the games. And what does that tell you? Well, it tells you the AIs can cooperate, and the AI's sense of ethics isn't based on what we think of as which is a set of rules to keep us from doing some biological things. It is, they do what they think is going to do, and they look and see what ends up being a winning strategy, and they do it. Now the humans do that. The answer is humans often fail to do the winning strategy because they have other things on their agenda. So I don't know I would call it an AI set of ethics. I believe when AI gets really smart, it will have a set of ethics, but we'll have to see what happens.
Okay, thank you. 好的，那我们问教授，就是 so like we have kids, like a lot of people have kids, and if the kids doesn't have a lot of like academic achievements or talents, like what can we teach them in school, or should they still go to school to get education?
I think what I was saying about liberally educated, what the real purpose of education is to teach people how to be humans and how to function in human society and in the technological world they're in. Things are going to be different, and instead of being defined by your job, you're going to be defined by how you are as a person, how you deal with other people.
Okay, and there's another question is that, like you see this year the Nobel Prize for Physics, right, and it's related to AI. Actually, all Nobel Prizes this year are related to AI. So do you feel like in the coming years, regarding technology breakthroughs, especially in your field of study, do you think that AI will be a huge involvement?
So I made a prediction which made the reporters very upset. I said the first Nobel Prize that will go to artificial intelligence and machine is going to be for writing for literature. And that, of course, made all the reporters crazy because they thought that's the one thing they understand, right? But the fact is, AI is capable of writing a great novel or book of poems. So we'll see what happens. So I have another comment, which I cut out of my slides because I didn't, but the adaption of the AI and the robots is actually slowed by humans. So I have two examples. One is the Chinese chatbot that passed the medical exams and did better than 85% of all the medical students and does pretty well, and yet that's been over 5 years and it really hasn't been introduced into the medical system the way I think it should have been. I think there are lots of human rules and institutional rules to stop that. But there's another example which I was going to show, but try to keep it on the slide. There is now in warehouses, it's actually the first warehouse I went into was a cosmetics and beauty lotion company, a robot whose job it is to take stuff off of shelves and put them on the carts or other things like that. And it's predicated, so these have been purchased by these companies. It's predicated on $30 an hour. It pays itself back in less than 2 years, and you don't have pesky human employees, right? So the test will be, does that take off? Does the manufacturer, if you look at it, it looks like a very ungainly human. It walks around, it looks ungainly. They did a lot of practical solutions. They don't have fingers, they have little clamps from going on the shelves, but its knees have been the other way, and that's because you're walking up to a shelf and picking up something off the shelf. It's handy to have your knees backwards instead of forwards. But if you look at that, if that is not ruled out by any law, that will, will test. And economically, when you start making more, the price drops. There will be more, and essentially most of the warehouses in the world will have robots in them rather than humans, just because they work 24 hours a day, 6 days a week or whatever it is. It's going to be efficient. So the question is how quickly stuff is adapted depends on how quickly humans get out of the way. And as entrepreneurs and young people, it's not just enough to make a great new product. That product has got to be adapted and it has to be allowed to be sold, and you can do well. But that's what we'll see. So there are 6 companies making humanoid robots, but there's only one of them which is selling its robots and actually using them in factories right now. But I can see in a few years there being a very large number that will displace people from those kind of menial jobs. It'll be different kinds of menial jobs, because doing construction work, making roads, it's going to take longer to figure the roads, but a lot of that's automated anyway. So the question is how quickly the AI is adapted into the life is the only thing that stops this from happening overnight.
So one last question is that beforehand, our guest talked about the richest will be in the future, the richest will be smartest, right? There will be kind of do you think with the development of AI, there will be a monopoly in education where the people with more wealth will be able to obtain more knowledge, or do you think that it will bring more equality to our current educational system?
So I don't want to be cynical, because in fact, we will have enough resources to give everybody access to a lot of things, but there are some people who are biological and greedy, and if I have more powerful AI and a more powerful network, I will get in the business, financial business, and I will buy and manipulate stocks and bonds in capitals all around the world. Some of the most profitable hedge funds move their computers to be very close to the New York Stock Exchange just to gain those nanoseconds. What are they going to do when they have really powerful AI? They can do manipulations of the market. So the answer is some rich people will hire the best AI they can to give them a tremendous advantage in the world, and the world has to figure out whether to regulate them or not. But the average person can have enough AI like have a smartphone, the average person can have such an AI to make their life rewarding and good. I have to say something more that's provocative and an ad for my talk tomorrow, and that is we're at the stage also of the longevity that if people don't stand in the way of things the way they stand in the way of some of the automation and so forth, they'll stand in the way of medicine the way they partly have, we're going to make it so people can live a lot longer. And in fact, many people in this room can expect to live a lot longer. And there is a second issue. Part of that is because we know how to actually deal with stem cells and with, CRISPR-Cas9, we can correct stuff. So it is now possible to take a brand new fertilized egg and correct genetic malfunction. There are certain diseases that get passed on genetically or sometimes by accident because of change. You can go in there and correct that. And if you really want, for triple the money, we can give them an entire college education right in their genes, like they went to every class and took every lecture and worked every homework problem. Would you do that? And the answer I get when I ask students is, depends on who speaks up first and says, wait a minute, that's missing like God, but never mind, we're already missing like God. The biological students, almost all, a large percentage of them, say, yes, I would. Whereas the average set of people, only about 5 to 10% of the people say they would. And if you really want, for triple the money, we can give them an entire college education right in their genes, like they went to every class and took every lecture and worked every homework problem. Would you do that? And the answer I get when I ask students is, depends on who speaks up first and says, wait a minute, that's missing like God, but never mind, we're already missing like God. The biological students, almost all, a large percentage of them, say, yes, I would. Whereas the average set of people, only about 5 to 10% of the people say they would. So.